Shaquille O'Neal says Frank Vogel was, quote, done dirty by the Lakers and said the coach should have quit instead of getting fired. Shaq is also advising other potential coaches not to waste their time vying for the open gig. Shannon, scale of 1 to 10, how significant was it that a former Laker great says other coaches shouldn't waste their time with the Lakers job?
I'm going to give it a 2 because I don't think Shaq's criticism is anything new, Skip. I think people around the league saw how they handled the Monty Williams situation. They saw how they handled the Tyronn Lue situation. I think Frank Vogel is a very good coach, but I don't think he's as good a coach as Ty Lue. I don't think he's as good a coach as Monty Williams, and they saw what transpired. And so, Skip, it's kind of like the Dallas Cowboys. It is a great job in theory because of the marquee value. You talk about the Lakers, a cornerstone franchise in the NBA, same as the Cowboys. Everybody knows the Cowboys, the most valuable franchise in the world. Everybody knows about the star. But the same problems that befall the Cowboys somehow is all of a sudden starting to happen to the Lakers, where the front office meddles far too much, Skip. So for me, I get Shaq, and plus, Shaq went through the exact same thing. He saw how they handled his situation, Skip, on his way out. Remember how he did how they treated him on the way out? So I don't really look at it like, well, oh, man, did you see Shaq said this about the Lakers? A lot of people around the league feel the exact same way, that especially after what I was reading, how they handled the Frank Vogel situation. But I was talking about before the Frank Vogel situation, because I'm not so sure Frank Vogel will even got the job. Had T. Lue acquiesced and given them what Frank Vogel gave up. Frank Vogel just wanted a job. He was without a job. T. Lue said, nah, I'm not going to just take any job and then have you fill my staff, have you guys looking over my shoulder. Monty Williams turned that job down with Anthony Davis and LeBron James to go take the Phoenix Suns, who hadn't been to the playoffs in God knows how long, because it was a better situation. He wasn't going to be meddled with the front office. They weren't going to staff his coaching staff. So I don't put any credit, because, Skip, it's not like I'm, trying to discredit Shaq, because Shaq knows what he's talking about. But I don't really think that's going to discourage anyone from taking this job, because it is a marquee cornerstone job. But what Shaq said, hell, everybody already knew.
Yeah, but Shannon, this came from the mouth of a Laker great who has a statue outside what used to be Staples Arena.
Yes.
And this is Shaquille O'Neal. This is a pantheon Laker great saying that no coach should want to take this job. So I'm sorry, that sound you just heard, that resounding thud you just heard, was the Lakers hitting absolute bottom thanks to Shaquille O'Neal. And I do appreciate what he said. And it stings even more because of the series running on HBO right now called Winning Time, about the life and times of the Magic Kareem Lakers, the Showtime Lakers through the 80s. It was a glorious time. This is an inglorious time. And to me, on a scale of 1 to 10 and just the significance of this, I'm going to a 10 that Shaq said this, because it was Shaq saying this. And it's so humiliating for Laker Nation to think that Shaq is saying no coach should want this job, when back next year are LeBron James, the guy you say is the GOAT, and Anthony Davis, who entered this past season before he was mostly hurt, as certainly ranked as a top 10, maybe even a top 5 player, and they're both returning to the roster next year, right?
But Skip, how long am I going to have LeBron? How will AD be healthy? Outside of LeBron and AD, what else do you have on the roster? So, yes, it's a cornerstone franchise. It is the Los Angeles Lakers, owners of 17 NBA titles, some of the pantheon great players to have ever played in the NBA. But, okay, once we take the titles away and take the Lakers, what about the roster? What are you saddling me with, Skip?
Well, are you going so far as to say, in a negative term, a sarcastic term, that you're saddling somebody with LeBron James after he was scoring 50 every other night? Is that saddling?
What did that get us? Not
Nowhere.
even to the play-in tournament.
Yeah, I kept telling you, nothing but empty calories, all empty.
Nothing, no play-in tournament.
No.
AD, Skip, I got a guy that cannot, outside of the first year, and you took a 5 months hiatus. So outside of that first year, Anthony Davis hadn't been healthy in L.A. I know the health issues that he had in New Orleans, but I'm talking about L.A. I'm not talking about New Orleans now. I'm talking about L.A.
You are.
And I look at the roster. I'm looking at the roster. Outside of those two guys, one, how much longer? Is LeBron going to play 1 year? Is he going to play 2 years? Is he going to be able to play at the level that he's playing at 1 year, 2 years? So, Skip, there's a lot of uncertainty outside of just being the Los Angeles Lakers, outside of this being the Showtime Lakers, Skip. There's a lot of questions that if I'm a head coach, I will need some answers. And I'm going to need y'all to stay out of my business, too.
Well, yeah, but all this pie in the sky, Laker Nation saying, let's go get Nick Nurse. Let's get Jason Kidd. Let's go get Quinn Snyder. And then the L.A. Times had a piece yesterday in quoting a rival executive saying, why would any of those guys want this? Well, they wouldn't. They won't.
Thank you. So, Skip, what Shaq said is what people around the NBA is already saying. Everybody knows that the Lakers' job, outside of it just being marquee, outside of it, let's just say for the sake of argument, Skip, the same situation was arising in OKC, Orlando. You're like, man, I ain't taking that job.
So, Shannon,
you take the Lakers job.
I'm sorry, but
go ahead.
Your man LeBron just got disqualified as the GOAT, quote unquote. It's over.
Why he got disqualified as the GOAT?
Well, because nobody even wants to coach him anymore.
Guys, we got to leave this one here. I know you could go all day because we need to get to the topic of Paul George and whether his absence was a valid excuse for the Clippers' failure. I don't know, Shannon, Skip, are you going to want your Diet Dew back?
Yes.
We'll find out up next.
No.
Rona Extra, find the fine life. The Heat's defense held Trae Young in check during Game 1. They blew out the Hawks 115-91. Ice Trae finished with 8 points and was 1 of 12 from the field. Ouch. Afterwards, the Atlanta All-Star said, quote, I'm very confident we're going to turn this around. Prediction time, Shannon. Do you think Trae will bounce back in Game 2?
Yeah, he'll bounce back. He'll be just fine. He had a bad game. There's no question about that. Miami, the Heat made it very difficult on him, Skip. Just a couple of days ago, he scored 35, I think, if I'm not mistaken. He scored 35 against the Heat. And what they did, they changed. And plus, they saw him just go get 38 against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So they're like, you know what? This is really the only guy that can beat us. Let's just make sure that doesn't happen. Let's blitz him. Let's get the ball out of his hands and make him shoot over people. And if he's going to shoot the basketball, make him shoot over people as much as possible. And, Skip, what you got to do, you knew this was going to be a tall task asking him to do this without Capella because they're going to probably get out-rebounded. Bam, and, the Miami Heat is a very physical team. They can get after you defensively. They play very, very sound basketball. Coach Spo has done a great job of coaching these guys. And so I'm not concerned about Trae. Skip, I thought this was going to be a tall task to ask the Hawks to beat the Heat, even with Capella. Now, without Capella, the task becomes more daunting. Trae Young has proven over the course of his playoff career, he's averaging 27-9. So I'm not worried about whether or not Trae bounces back because I believe that he will bounce back. But even in bouncing back, Skip, is that enough to push them past the Heat? I don't believe it is. I don't believe they were going to beat the Miami Heat with a healthy Clint Capella, let alone I don't believe he's coming back in this series. So I'm not worried about whether Ice Trae comes back, bounces back, because I believe that he will bounce back. But I'm not sure he can bounce back unless he's going to average 40. And then he's going to need Bogdanovich, who went over from the floor last night, to give him more than what he gave him. Guys are really going to have to step up. John Collins came off the bench, played okay for him, but he has been out of the lineup. Skip, the leading scorer was Gallinari. He had 17. That's not good enough. Trae's going to have to be better. Trae will be better. But even him being better, I don't know if that's enough to push them past the Heat.
Shannon, your man Ice Trae yesterday was shivering. He was cold as ice.
Yeah.
We see this happen fairly regularly. He can get shut down and shut out. He was almost shut completely out yesterday, 1 of 12. Miami is, speaking of tall task, they're just too big for him. What do we give Trae? 5'11", something like that?
Maybe 6, yeah.
Maybe 6, 5'11"-ish. And again, I think he's a fine young man. He gets upset with me. He tweets at me that I'm lame. And yesterday, he was lamer because they were all over him. And when you even have the great P.J. Tucker taking a few reps on him, it's just too hard for him to break loose. And yeah, he can get hot-handed, as the Heat were quick to say after the game, but they just get so physical with him, they just wear him out. They wear him down. And once he misses his first couple of shots, you can see what happens. And if we could show quickly what happened, slowly but not so surely, he misses his 11 shots here, all 11 misses. That was awful. That was basically almost an air ball. And then here we go again, barely grazed the front of the rim. And then here we go again, a little floater that he usually makes, and he missed it poorly, badly. And then here we go. That was a pretty good look, way short. He said after the game, we had heavy legs. That wasn't a bad look, almost made it. Another floater, no. And here we go again. Decent look, way short. Maybe it's heavy legs. I don't know. And then he just throws that up at the end of the half, and he's got no chance. Now we're almost finished because he's almost finished in the game. And here we go again. And, ooh, that was awful. When he's off, he is way off and way short. Okay, so there you saw his body of work in Game 1 at Miami against the team that I picked to win it all. This team, the Heat, can shoot it. They led the league in three-point shooting percentage, and they led the league in three-point defense. And you saw it on full display yesterday. And obviously, Trey's going to be better than 1 of 12, but I don't think he's going to light them up in any game this year.